Hello everyone, and welcome to the live mapping session. I'm Remy Monsen, and I'm taking over for Ralph today. He is out walking. Hope he has some nice weather wherever he is. And today I'm going to show you a little village battle map. I was just thinking that villages are places where you often find confrontation in role-playing games. So having a little village battle map is always something you need. So I'm just going to make a little simple map today, show you how it's done, what I'm doing, and how I accomplish this. I'm not quite as fast a mapper as Ralph is, so I'm probably not going to get as far as he typically does. Most of you have been here before, I think, so you know me. So you all know, hopefully, Camping Cartographer. If you're new here, welcome, and if not, still welcome. So let's just jump right into it. Now, today's topic means that I need to do some special preparations, because normally when we make a battle map, we make a dungeon style, floor plan style battle map. That's the most common ones in many games, and we have a lot of templates ready to go to do those kinds of battle maps. But once I start going into a little bit into the village, I'm not gonna make a big village, I'm just gonna make a little village center. But once I do that, I kind of get a little bit out of the default scale. I'm getting involved with other kinds of templates, other kinds of map types, and I need to do some customization myself. So again, if you are someone new to Camping Cartographer 3 Plus, watching this video, either live or in replays later, I would perhaps recommend starting with a simpler battle map video, because some of the things I'm going to do will sound a little bit complicated, but this just also shows off the possibility and the flexibility of Camping Cartographer. So, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead. So I'm gonna start a new map, and I'm gonna start actually a city map instead of the more common dungeon or floor plan maps. So I'm going for a city map, and I'm just going for the Darkland city for my little battle map. You can use any city style you have. Most city styles, at least as long as it's an overhead view, will work just fine. It's starting to get a lot more complicated if you are trying to make a battle map with an isometric city like this. Probably not. Those are great for maps, but not for battle maps. But any overhead view is quite fine for this. So if you don't have the Darklands annual, just pick anyone, including even the basic city, which everybody with Camping Cartographer 3 Plus will have. That's Darkland City, there we go. Now, for the map size, a battle map is typically quite small. Remember that these dimensions are in map units, and for dungeons and cities in imperial scale, that means feet, and we do not typically want a battle map that has thousands of feet. So I'm gonna make a small one. I'm gonna make it about 200 width perhaps, times 1, we can do 160. So go, and I don't want a sand background, I want something a little bit more grassy. So let's just go for the dark grass. So yeah, I got a question, which annual had the Darklands material? Sue already answered in the chat, but just to have it on the video as well, it's part of the 2021 annual. So let's just pick the grass. And that's that. We don't really need multiple levels for a battle map. And I'm gonna start this one. We just call that village battle map. So, edition. And I can't even spell peaceful. Be consistent either. There we go. A nice little map. The first thing you often notice when you make a small map like this is that the background looks all pixelated. That's just the default view. Not loading the right file right off the bat. It's not a problem, and the quickest way to just fix it visibly is to just hit the display speed button and just clear the bitmap cache and hit OK, and we are fine. Just Camping Cartographer picking the wrong resolution to display at the outset there, but nothing to worry about. Okay, so now I have a little area. It's not too big, I can't map an entire village here, but I can easily map a small city center, which is what I'm going to do. So I have two building types here. I have detached buildings, which I can expand and have several options. And I have the aged tile type of buildings. Again, several options. And there are also some ruined versions of the same buildings down here in the catalog. Now I'm not planning on making ruined buildings, and these black ones are just because they are very colored. Black is a bad color to start out with. It makes them look very dark. So let's, for example, do see the vari-color version of the same buildings as well. I'm not gonna use vari-color today. I'm gonna stick with the building as Sue drew them. So just to start out, let's just place some houses. I'm gonna imagine to have a little town square right here, but I'm gonna draw that after the buildings just to get it placed correctly. So let's just pick some buildings. Now the buildings are randomly picked, so you can use tab to look through them. I don't want the too big buildings for this. And now I have a choice to make as well. When you make battle maps, there are usually two schools of thought when it comes to that, because a battle map is always on a grid. And some people, they like to make everything perfectly aligned to the grid. That's very game friendly because it's easy to know if the character is standing on an open spot or where the building is, if a building occupies half a grid square or is diagonal across a grid square. It gets a bit more tricky to decide, well, is it possible for the character to stand here or not? Can the monster stand here? What will happen if you cast a fireball here? There are a lot more difficult decisions. So some people just align everything perfectly to the grid and are very happy with that. I'm kind of preferring the more organic approach myself. So I want actually my houses to look a little bit more like an actual village. So I'm going to do them a little bit more at an angle. Now we can already see here that this building is pretty large compared to my entire space. So again, I can't map an entire village here. But that was not the idea anyway. So let's just throw down some buildings. Let's see what we do here. You can, of course, in such a battle map also have buildings on the edge of the map, just showing part of them. That can be nice. It also have other potential issues when people are trying to look behind them and things like that. You decide yourself again what's most appropriate for your setting. A couple of touch, and let's do a couple of tiles as well. And nice and straight. You can see we are kind of forming the central area for the housing. I'm quite deliberately choosing to do a plot with a little space in the center. This is because I want the people to have a little bit of fighting space in the middle, and this can also be kind of a village. Oh, sorry, a village meeting spot. Now I think somewhere there should also be some cliffs, so I'm just gonna use some outcrops. Just use them right on the edge here to just put a little bit of edge to the map. There we go. Nicely placed, and just give it a little bit of shape, basically. Maybe I can put one in the bottom as well. We want one here. Yeah, we can. There we go. So, nice little cliffs. Now we can start at getting a bit of the village center. And if I look at the available tools here, I noticed that all of these road types are basically cobble types, and it's not quite what I'm after. Often in old times you didn't even build the roads. Roads are more a natural trodden down earth. People have walked there, you compact the earth, maybe work it a little bit, but not every places have cobblestones. I don't really like cobble paths in small villages. It's better suited for bigger cities, I think. So I want to do something else. I think I want to use just the earth. And already now comes up our first challenge. I'm gonna draw it, and we are gonna look at it. So now I want to draw this with parts coming in from the outside. So I'm gonna draw everything in one big polygon that looks far better. So I'm actually gonna start on the outside here. This is kind of the road coming in, and let's put a little bit. The reason I draw on top of the houses is to get the fill a little bit under the houses, because there will be applied an edge fade here, and I don't want the edge fade to fade against the edge of the house. When people are walking all the way up to the house, you can see it yourself in nature. Any trail will have a kind of faded on the side of it, because people don't walk too much on the side. The grass is growing a little bit more. But the part where you go into the house should of course not be faded. So I'm just drawing it a bit into the house, just to indicate where people are actually traveling. Out, in. Right there we are. And there we go. Now, the effects haven't been enabled yet because I need to redraw. But you can see, yeah, I'm quite happy with this shape. Maybe missed a road out here, but maybe I don't need one. Maybe it's not something interesting up here anyway. So let's just zoom into the map again. And the first thing I notice is that, ow, the edge fade is way too strong. And there are two reasons for this in this map. The first one is that these templates are made with a little bit bigger maps in mind. This is a city style map after all. It's not scaled for Battlemap use directly. As I warned at the beginning of this stream, I need to do a little manual tweaking. And the second reason is that this dirt is not on the appropriate road sheet, because I didn't pick a road tool. You remember that? I just picked a generic background tool. So we can always check here by using info, list, do it, and you should be able to see that this is certainly not on the right sheet. It's on the earth sheet, and well, it has different effects than the appropriate road sheet. So let me just move it, do it to the road sheets instead. We want somewhere roads. Go, and now you can see immediately it has got the effect from the road sheet. It still has a bit of an edge fade, but that edge fade is much smaller, much softer, much more appropriate for the road instead of a large terrain patch. So that's kind of the first things we need to do about. Now, oh sorry, not do about, think about. What are my words saying? I don't have words. Well, now I have the basic map. I think it's time to just throw in the grid, just to show a little bit how the grid is going to look. So let me start by hitting the grid button. Now, when adding a grid, it will take the current color. I don't think I want a gray grid. I'm just going to make it white for the beginning. Okay. It might be a little brutal with a white grid, but let's look at how it looks. A square grid. And what do we need for grid spacing? Well, most role-playing games use 5 feet. So I'm gonna do 5 feet. I don't want labels on my grid. That's not useful for battle maps. And it needs a square grid. Okay, so 5 grids. There we go. Turned on automatically the CC3 drawing grid as well. So there we are, but does this look very beautiful? Well, grids doesn't look that nice anyway. The main idea of a grid is to help you actually do the movement on the map. So a grid isn't actually normally doing the map any favor anyway, but right now it looks quite bad. So let's do a couple of things for that. Just refresh, let's see, effects are on. I'm gonna hit the sheets button. And if there's one thing you need to know about Sue, is that she really loves her sheets. Nice little list of sheets there. All these sheets are quite helpful because it does a lot of things for you. It helps get things on the right sheets, ensuring that effects works. So it's quite nice having a lot of sheets, but it's a bit more for me and you to manage when you look at this and find them. So let's just find, that's my grid. Now, there are two things I want to do with my grid. The first thing is that grid on top of those buildings that look really, really, really ugly. But if I take my grid and move it up, let's put it, okay, I want it after the roads. But now we can see the grid neatly aligns to the background. This is more like it. I mean, I could even hide it behind the roads, but I think I certainly want some gridding going on here. So let's keep it there, but I think the transparency isn't good enough. 75% opacity. Should we try 25? Now it's going to be quite invisible. But I think that looks quite nice. It's not as overwhelming, and I think you should be able to see that grid on YouTube. Let me know if you can't see it, but I think this is quite nice, and this is good enough for my use. You have to think a little bit when you export it, if you're going to use it with a virtual tabletop system and things like that, how you're going to do it. Actually, if I add it to a virtual tabletop, I usually do not include a grid in Camping Cartographer 3 at all, because I want to overlay the grid in the VTT tool instead. Of course, that has the disadvantage that then the grid ends up on top of everything, since this is just an image, but yeah, we're not going to handle virtual tabletops today. But this is kind of the basics of my map. Now, all I need to do is to make it a little bit prettier, a little bit more interesting. There's a lot of things I can do. For example, one thing I wanted, I'm thinking, why is this an interesting space in the middle? Well, I want to add maybe some kind of water source, some kind of, not exactly a fountain, but I want to add something a little bit more fancy, type of well or something like that. And this is also a good opportunity to show you how you can get a little bit creative. Now, as far as I know, there are no wells in this style. Sue might be able to correct me, she drew this after all, but I don't think there are any wells at all in this style. But why should we let that stop us? And as I said, I don't want just a traditional well. I want something a little bit bigger, maybe something animals can even drink from, or people can get water from. So let's just see what we can do, because there is some interesting symbols in here. A temple ruin. That's lovely, isn't it? Don't we all like temple ruins? Let's grab this temple ruin. Nice big temple ruin. Cartographer lets me scale things down. Okay, now people are probably seeing how this jumps back and forth. This is because this is a so-called smart symbol, a building, and it's trying right now to align to my grid. You can see if my cursor's over a grid line, it gets big because it fits to the grid. If it's not, it gets small. This is a smart symbol, and smart symbols are tremendously useful normally, but there are also cases when they are not behaving as you need them to do. So I might just right click and turn on. I think it's enough to just turn off smart tracking for this one. Now you can see it's no longer trying to track. Again, a smart symbol is a very useful feature, but right now it's not what I need. So let's just place this one. I'll place it here. It's gonna fill roughly 4 grid squares. Actually, zoom in. Again, since this is a battle map, it's nice if things kind of fit a little bit. Grid square. Just turn off snap as well and work a little bit more by eye. There we go. And it's kind of a nice well, isn't it? Yeah, this, but it has a couple of issues right now. First of all, it casts a gigantic shadow. The same kind of shadow as houses. And why? Because it's on the same sheet as houses. So, I was just harassing Sue for having a lot of sheets in her maps, but now I'm gonna add more, because that's what sheets are for. Add sheets when you need sheets. So I'm gonna add a specific sheet just for this. Well, I might have been able to combine it with something other low symbols, but for now, I'm just call it well. No, I'm gonna call it well symbol at all. I'm just gonna call it well. And remember where the sheet is in the list is important. I want it to appear on top of the grid, but on top of the road, so fine. And I'm just gonna copy the effects from the building sheets. Glow and wall shadow, select them, copy, select the well and paste them. And I'm gonna edit the copy and change this to, let's go down to 3 units. Some smaller blur as well. Should be fine. And well, yeah. I was just confused why it was casting the same shadow, but some of you probably already know exactly why. I never moved my broken temple well, actually, to the correct sheet. So let's just move it, do it. I want it on the well sheet. And there we go. Much nicer. But a well should obviously have some water. And again, I'm actually gonna add a sheet with that water in. There is some water sheets already here in the list, but these are meant for drawing large bodies of water, and they contain a lot of effects to make the edge and everything looks great, but that does not look very good if you make a tiny little water inside a well. You need to have a dedicated sheet for that, basically. So I'm just gonna draw the water. Let's find, is there some fill style? There's no tool directly then that fits me for drawing this water, but we don't need predefined tools. Just find the right fill on the bitmap files, water. Just use one of the basic tools. Zoom in first. I'm just going to draw that using a circle. And I'm gonna just do this quickly by eye, placing the center in the middle. And yeah, almost good enough. Let's just move it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Now I can go into my effects again, and I think I'm gonna add just a little bit of transparency on that water. Let's try 75. There we go. Now we can see a little bit. This temple has some broken glass on the top. I'm just letting it show a little bit through. People won't know exactly what it is, but it's kind of some weird structure down in the well. Maybe people get a little bit curious. But there we go. We have a water source exactly smack down in the middle of town. So that's the water in place. Let's start decorating the town a little bit. We need some trees. Large trees. With some burnt trees for some reason. I don't know what happened here, but maybe something bad. Yeah, maybe something bad. I mean, this is a peaceful village after all, so yeah. And I mean, Sue has made such nice fires. Who can resist these thatch fires? little bit of action going on there now. I don't really know what's really going on in this town, but apparently the house is on fire. That's probably a problem, if you ask me. I don't know. Do you guys think if it's a problem or not? Commonplace and common thing in your hometowns, maybe houses on fire? I don't know. It's maybe common here. I mean, this is Darkland City after all. What did you expect? Let's put in some animals. Horse. Have the horse drink. It's a thirsty little horse. Should we have 2 thirsty little horses? Ooh, a white horse too. Yeah, we can have 3 thirsty little horses. We have to have a little bit of animals. There's a sheep farmer up here. Yeah, we have some sheep. Sheeps are nice. Cows, maybe they don't like to be too close to the fire. Maybe the cows has wandered all the way over here. Down here, maybe the cows did it. Who knows? And a bull as well. Maybe he's an angry bull. A little angry bull. A bit of more fire. Yeah, we can do a little bit of fire. Burning off this roof somehow. Very nice. Yeah, I think that's enough. Enough for the fire. So now I'm getting into. I made a little bit of a basic map. Now let's see a little bit more how we can start decorating this map. And now, as I said initially, Darklands City is a city style. It doesn't always have all the nice little things you want from a floor plan style, so maybe I need to borrow a little bit from other styles. And we have other nice styles available to us. So let's just do a little symbol search. I'm gonna bring up all the symbol catalogs. Go to advanced. And I am going to look for. Now I need to know the number of. Let's just do a little bit of magic. I can do an open doc. Alpha. Just have a look in the annual folder. What's here? Because I think I want to open up use creepy crypts. So 186, 188 should have some symbol catalogs. We can find 186. There we go. Creepy crypts. Nice. Now, maybe we should make these a little easier available. If I'm gonna map a lot in this style, it might be helpful to have these easier available. So 186 is one thing I want to have available. So what I usually do is that I right click the symbol style toggle button and go to master filter settings. I always ignore these because these choices here are legacy choices. This menu is quite static, so it can't be updated based on the style. So the choices here are kind of useful, but this one at the bottom is not master filter. This is the filter that is loaded with your map. And let me just change this a little bit. I'm just going to do a temporary change now. I'm not going to change or update my installation. But I want to add 2 more filters. I want CA 186, and I'm later gonna use symbol set 2, I think is SS2. These words are just keywords, words that are found in the names of the symbol catalogs. So it's nothing magic about them, you just have to find them. I'm just gonna make this the active filter. Yeah, you can see now when I click here, I get this one. If I cancel, go back to master filter, make this one, symbol set 2 my filter, and I'll get symbol set 2. So this is quite nice. Now I'm going back to, and actually you don't have to right click, actually you can just click the toggle button to step between the filters one by one, but then I don't know exactly which one I get, so I find it easier. So I get a question from Versus if it's possible to have multiple filters. Not at the same time, you have to toggle between them. You can of course write something that will kind of match more things at once. For example, if I make a filter that is only called CA1, I will get everything that starts with CA1, but then I will probably get a lot more than I'm asking for as well. So you can't have multiple active, but it's easy to just have this list and just toggle between the list. So let's go back here, yeah, 186. Just see what's available. And also notice that I'm using the all symbol catalog button here on the side, because my symbol catalog buttons here are city kind of symbols. They are not going, no matter what I set my filter to, the city type buttons will not end up loading the right catalogs. So I'm just using the filters, ignoring buttons, and just getting all the catalogs this way. And remember, if it's not displaying the previews, you can turn that off and on. I prefer to have it on. And I can now pick interesting symbols. For example, do we need a little bit of wall? Well, I can use the walls, cemetery walls. Maybe these sheep are closed in by a wall between the houses, like this. That wall probably need to go on its own sheet as well. I think it's probably on the symbol sheet. Yeah, it's on the symbol sheet. So let again, I want it below the houses so it doesn't overlap like this. So I'm going to just make another sheet. Or I could put it on the symbols flat, but I don't think this has anything at all. Or actually, now you see what I was talking about earlier. That well has a sharing features with other low outdoors features. So let me just rename this one to 50 features. Maybe I'm even gonna call it symbol 50 feature. The reason I'm calling this symbol in front, that's because a lot of symbols pick their own sheet, and they pick their own sheet based on certain rules. Most symbols are set to, if the current symbol, the current active sheet starts with the word symbol, they will go to that sheet. If not, they will find the real symbol sheet. So by calling this symbol now, I will kind of making this a target sheet for symbols. When it was only called well, that was intentional to not have symbols drop in there uncontrolled, but I want now to have symbols there. I'm gonna call it symbol city features, make that active, and I'm gonna move this where this the grid. So I'm gonna move this one to city features. There we go. Now we have a little a little wall to close off sheeps in this direction as well. Yeah, 2. There we go. Of course, I assume there are some more walls outside this map where the sheep can't run, so they can't just run around the wall here and just come into the city. Obviously, somebody forgot to wall in the horses and cows and all of that things, but it's fine. Other things you can actually pick up from this style, from Creepy Crypts, is that it also have some nice feature called terrain patches. You have to watch again which symbols these patches ends up on. I don't want them on symbol features, they used automatically, so I think symbols flat. You can see symbol flat doesn't have an effect, so even if it calls ruins rocks, it's still flat. So maybe, for example, somebody took a little bit of hay, straw, down here with the horses. Okay. Those did not go to the sheet I expected it to go. Let's see where it is. You can see I'm selecting it even if it's hidden beneath something. Oh, it's on the right sheet. Let's see. Oh, yeah, of course. You see symbols flat ruins rocks is before roads. Let's move it down one step. There we go. There we go. It's small things like that, but as you see, I frequently use the list tool to check things like this. It's one of the most used tools in my repertoire, I think. And also remember that even if it's behind another entity, I can still select it if I know where it is. And if I didn't know where it is, well, I could always just, for example, hide something, like hiding the road sheet, and just finding things below it that way. So multiple ways of handling that. But if things disappear like that, it's usually, there are 2 reasons it might happen. The most common, it's on a sheet below something else being drawn on top of it, or there are effects on that sheet, for example an edge fade effect, that kind of wipes out the entity completely. So just look for those things. Now these can of course now be used. Let's put a little bit of grass behind these sheeps. Patch. Maybe there is some long grass over here. You might want to adjust the effects a little bit, but I like to just drop this a little bit around to break off the monotony of the map. It can be a lot big. You can also see that it's a big section with the same dirt color. Let's just throw in a little bit. Maybe there's some darker dirt in front of this door here. Just things like that. I could work a little bit making it more pretty, but just throwing this out there. Maybe there is a lot of wet stuff down here, so it's a little bit wet and muddy where the coast go. Yeah, I could of course have zoomed in so you guys are seeing better what's happening. I often, as you can see, I often work like this with the map zoomed out because I know what will happen, but it can be prettier to look and see a bit more what's actually going on. But I think that works quite nicely actually. But now comes one of the more interesting things about a city battle map. One of the things your players are guaranteed to wanting to do is to go inside the house, of course. Now you can of course say, yeah, it's locked tight and all the windows are of unbreakable glass and there are force fields around all the houses, so just forget about it. You can't get into any of them and they're all dark and you can't see a thing. Yeah, sure, that works too. But I like to make people available to go into the houses sometimes. So let's just handle one of the houses for now. Otherwise I'm going to be here mapping for you all night. So let's look at this building here. Okay, can we remove this building from the map, hide it from the map, and see what's inside it? Yeah, of course we can. I'm gonna use layers for this. The reason I'm not using sheets is because all the buildings are on the same sheets with the same effects, but I can assign buildings to individual layers and then hide and show layers independent of the sheets. That's quite nice. Oh, and yeah, now I see one more thing has happened. I've been working actually on the merge layer. That's a bit unfortunate because the merge layer has a special rule and effect settings. Try to never place anything on the merge layer, actually. Stay away from that one. But I'm just gonna make a new building. So let's call it building 1. Now I have it. So this is active as well. And okay. And I'm gonna pick my house, do it, and I'm gonna assign it to the building 1 layer. There we go. What can I do now if I bring back up the layer dialog? And I must not have it active actually for this to work, so I'm going to switch to background, but I can now set this as hidden. And voila, we can hide my building. And I can unhide it again. Okay, nice. Now I can see what's inside it. So let's just see what we do. Of course, it's obviously not just a bunch of grass inside my building. That would be weird. So I'm actually gonna use some dungeon tools. And I'm gonna put in a little bit. But now I have a little bit of a problem. I don't have any wall or floor drawing tools or anything like that in my current map. I started to use a little bit of symbols from Creepy Crypts, but that's not the perfect add-on to make buildings and houses. That's for crypts. So we're not gonna do that. A lot of nice symbols, but thinking about it, I guess we can just for the fun of it, just make this a little bit of a dark city, placing some graves here. But let's just think, okay, I need a style to draw this building in. Now, Sue has made many nice special styles. Creepy Crypts, Forest Trail, Winter Trail, Marine Dungeons. But right now I need a little bit more generic dungeon style. So I'm thinking I can use the Symbols at 2 style. I always like Symbols at 2. Of course you can use any style, but Mike Schley Dungeons does not work very well with a Darklands city map. So let's see how we can do that. Let me go to all drawing tools and I'm gonna pick symbol set 2. It's called Dungeon SS2, and SS2A is the style, the most realistic type. B is a bit more hand-drawn looking, not too compatible with this style. It's still nice, but A is better. But now we can see we have one problem if I do that. Everything seems to be missing their fills. And this is a problem a lot of novice campaign cartographer user encounters. They somehow change their style and suddenly everything is missing their fill. So why is that? Well, the simple reason is that fills are referenced from the map. And the map I'm drawing here, the city style, do not have references to the fills from this style. That's quite natural. It only has the fills it needs, because if I go to the fills, bitmap files, you really do not want every fill Camping Cartographer has available in this list. Then you get a list that is extremely long, extremely hard to deal with. You don't want to see everything, believe me. If you only have 1 or 2 add-ons, yeah, maybe you could live with that. When you have everything, or at least a lot of it, you do not want to see all the fills at once. Ever thought that thought? No, you don't. So that's the reason why fills are on a per map basis. But okay, how can I get the fills from the SS2 into this map? Okay, I'm gonna show you a simple solution that works with any style. So I'm gonna just take a new copy of Campaign Cartograph. I'm gonna make a new map in the right style, dungeon, and symbol set 2, dungeon A. Next, size and everything doesn't matter. I just want to start the map, and I can just call it whatever I want. SS2A fills, for example. Okay, that's done. That's just a new map. If you already have a map in this style, you can use that one. I just made a new one, but you can use an example map or anything like that. But you just need a map, like I just made. It doesn't have to be empty. It just has to be a map. So now I have a map in the right style. If I now go back to my real map, I go to Draw, Insert File, and I now find my map, which I just made, SS2A fills. I select it, I hit Open, but now you can see the map is on my cursor. You can see the outlines moving here. Do not click in the map. Just hit the Escape key immediately. What this does is that it copies the fill style definition and also symbol definition, if the map has any, into your current map. Now look what's happening. I'm just gonna save it, and then I'm gonna check fill styles, bitmap files, and you can see that my list is suddenly a little bit longer, because I now have all the symbol set 2A fills as well. Okay, I now have those, and I'm now going to just go back to my drawing tools. I'm gonna pick my engine SS2 again. There we go. And you can see now all fills are in place. Great, now I can work. Let me draw a quick house. I don't have too much time now. You don't want to sit there for hours watching me. I guess you don't want anyway. I can't be that entertaining. So I'm just gonna quickly set it up and just show you how to set it up. But I'm not gonna make a nice furnished house. So I'm starting by finding a wall. Use the filter. I think there's a wall here. There we go. Should we just go for the bricks? Yeah, bricks are nice. So for this, I want to be zoomed in as close as possible. And I'm just gonna place these by eye. Remember, a wall is always a little bit inside the roof, so I don't want to put it exactly on the edge, then I will see the wall sticking out. So I'm just gonna put it a little bit inside. Right now, I wish my house was a little bit bigger, because you can see then maybe the wall could have been aligned with the grid squares perfectly. But you can do that in your own map. You are seeing what I'm doing here, so it's not really that hard. Okay. Doing this by eye. Maybe one of my walls get a little bit at an angle if I do that, but that's fine. Then right click to finish, and you can see I have the wall. Now, of course, the problem is that if I redraw now, the wall is on top of the building. Now, I could put in different sheets, different layers, and put everything here on layers as well, which I might actually do. But right now, I'm just going to fix the sheets because the wall sheets has just appeared at the bottom of my list. Because these walls looked for a wall sheet, there wasn't one, so one was created. But when a sheet is automatically created, the tool can't know where to put it in the order, so it's put at the end. Just gonna move it up. Again, this should be below the buildings. So you can probably put it. Yeah, let's try here. Walls. Okay. Now the walls are there. And if I now go to layer, up again, and hide the building, now we have the outline. Okay, I'm just gonna draw the floor. 2. Again, let's see, do we have a floor? Rough wooden floor is fine. Now, to make the floor align with the walls, I like to use the modifier key. So I tend to use the endpoint modifier. This button, the endpoint, but I usually use the F5 key on the keyboard instead to activate it. Just pick any section of the wall and it automatically aligns to the nearest end of the wall. See, I repeatedly click it and right click, and there we are. Now again, sheets need to be moved because floors. Let's add that. So let's move floors up. Hit that below walls. And actually, I'm seeing that this is going to cover up my grid, which is absolutely not what I want. I want the grid on top of the floor. At least the floor needs to move up for the grid. Right, like that. And now you can see I have a nice grid on my floor. Now, I do want to add a little bit of effects to the walls. Again, if I'm making a drawing where I don't have the sheet set up for me up front, there won't be any effects either. I could import the effects from symbol set 2, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just gonna, actually I think I'm just gonna grab the effects from the buildings and just put them on walls. Copying pasting effects are pretty useful. Right. Yeah, as we can see now, it has a similar shadow length as the building. Maybe I should reduce it a little bit, but technically the wall is the same height as the building, well, unless it's a multi-story building, so we don't want to do that. Yeah, and I can now put in some symbols. I don't want that one, I want the symbol set filter. Ah, come on. Didn't master filter want to show up? Okay. Was a new one, I think. Just reload the map. Paste. On and done something with my manifolds. Kind of a very weird one. Let me just change manifolds. Okay, that's a weird one I need to look closer at. Sorry about that. Sure why that would fail. But okay, let's just do it manually then, because I can always just use the settings here anyway, and just switch it to store. Hey, it's just a bit more cumbersome having to type them instead of having it to remember them. Exactly what happened. So let's just get some doors. Doors. Yeah, I think I need to close down Camping Cartographer because something obviously happened. It didn't want to place symbols either. Yeah, there we go. I don't know what happened, but something obviously got hung up. So it didn't want to do wanted. 6. You remember I told you I didn't save this intentionally. If I wanted, I could have hit the save button and save it under a new name, or even overwrite the basic setting. But if I overwrite the basic setting, it would apply to all maps in this style, which I absolutely didn't want to do. But again, if something really weird like that happens, restarting Campaign Cartographer is usually the best option. Oh. Again, let's pick that one. Again, I want an open door. Slightly skewed because it happened to the door as well, but I'm not gonna bother with it now. And I'm gonna throw in some windows. Randomly windows. There we go. And of course, as I said, we are getting short on time, so I'm not going to go around fully furnishing this building. Disappeared. I think the windows maybe is, yeah, you can see the windows hiding beneath the floor. Again, this is the same thing I talked about earlier. When I bring a lot of other elements into a map like that, I also need to take care of the sheets, watch a little bit out for things. You can see that the windows have actually gone on the symbols flat ruin rocks sheet. It's not really not where I wanted them. Kind of wanted them on I probably need a symbols wall sheet for this one actually. Again, Campaign Cartographer is an extremely flexible program. It allows you to do a lot of things, but that also means that when I want to do things like this, which are not actually a ready-made template, I want to do my own thing kind of. It also means that I do need to make sure to set up the sheets and maybe the effects and things like that. But it's not that hard, and it's quick once you get to know it. So symbols wall. There we go. And just because I know I'm gonna need it, I'm just gonna add a symbols indoor as well. Make sure that's the active sheet. That means that now my furniture should go to the symbols indoor sheet. Just plop down a bed. and a bench. And these guys have a table with some stools, things like that. See if everything ended up on the right sheet. I think it did. That's the info list. Wait, you can now see its symbol indoor. And the reason they ended up there was because I made a sheet which started with the name symbols and had that as my active sheet. If this was not my active sheet, let me see, for example say that docs was my active sheet. And I now try to place this table. I'm gonna make it large and I'm gonna place it halfway between the wall just to illustrate it. Where do you think that symbol ends up? Well, it got a huge shadow, so it ended up on the symbol sheet. That's because the sheet selected did not have symbols in the name, so it looked and said, this isn't the right sheet, I need to find another sheet. But again, if symbols indoor had been selected, let me do the same again. Now, you can see it does not have the same shadow. It's much more better aligned, and we can see it's now on symbols indoor. So this is the trick to making sure symbols go to the right sheet. Just be a little bit aware, and especially aware when you do things like this, adding things to other sheets. Okay, I think I need shadow. The reason I'm just copying it instead of making a new one is that I want to make the shadow size relative to what I already had, and I didn't remember what I already had, so that's 2 and that's 1. Okay, and now we have a small shadow. Maybe I could adjust this a little bit more, but I'm not gonna spend the time doing it. And the point now is that I can go to my layers, and if I unhide my building, you can see the indoor. I go into the layers, I hide my building, and voila, people on the battle map can see the indoor. So that's gonna bring me just to the final part. How can I make it easier to hide and show this building? Well, I like to use a little bit of a hotspot. So I'm gonna do 2 things. You see all this junk outside the map. That's because Campaign Cartographer doesn't have an actual fixed map border you can draw outside, and symbols cannot just be arbitrarily cut. They have to be what they are. So what we usually do in Campaign Cartographer is we just hide the things outside the map border. And by default, you can see there is a hiding polygon. Oops, to click, you can see there's a hiding polygon around it that hides what's near the map, but not what's on the outside. The fastest way to just hide everything is to just type on the command line $auto, that automatically creates a new screen, which we call it, around it, which automatically hides everything. It's just now a bigger hiding rectangle, nothing more than that. But that just makes everything more prettier. So I'm now going to just make toggles. Building 1. Yeah, I'm just gonna to showcase this. Building 2. And I can't spell. Problem. And let's say all. Just to be able to toggle them. I'm gonna put this. That's a center text. Ralph always know those justify keys. I don't. I never remember them. instead, I'm actually just going to do this one actually. Maybe you saw it happen. I also did the wrong thing when I removed the text. I right-clicked, that puts it down here in the bottom. Actually find it here somewhere. Oh. Let's just instead select all text. That's also useful in campaign category. You can see now it's fast hard selecting something. Just start select entities, right-click, entity type. Just say I want to select all text. That's my text. Do it, and I'm gonna put the text. I'm gonna put the text on the frame sheet, I think. And now I can use. And now I can edit the text, and I can say that I want to justify it. Left instead. And you can see the text jumped a bit. That's because I changed the insertion point of the text. But now you can see it's left aligned as I want it. Copy it. I'm gonna scale it up a little bit. That. And now comes the trick to hiding the buildings. So you remember the alignment keys? Yeah. That's something I never. I know a lot of commands to type on the command line by heart. Quite a lot, but I never remember those alignment keys. Maybe I don't use them enough. But now I have kind of a menu to my side there. And if we now remember from the layers, I have the one called building 1. Let me just add the one I hinted at. Building 2 as well. Just because I want to have that one available. And let's just put one of the houses as building 2. Which one should we do? We could, yeah. This one. 2. Oh, this is building 2. Now I can show and hide this. So let's make a command for toggling the visibility of building 1. I go to tools, macros, and I make a hotspot. And when I do hotspots that hide and show layers, I always do one thing first. Do a go layer. This sets the background layer as the active layer. The reason I do this is because you cannot hide the active layer. So if the layer you're trying to hide is currently active, it won't work and you're getting confused. So by just setting the background as active first, I'm ensuring that I'm not going to be into any problems. And then I execute the command toggle F. Toggle F. No, I don't need toggle F. I just do toggle actually. I'm gonna explain toggle F in a moment, but I just do toggle building 1. This toggles the visibility of that one. Okay, and I put the hotspot on this one. This small text is just a hotspot text that disappears the next time you load the map, or I can hide it immediately with hide hyperlinks, and it goes away. Now, if I click this one, building 1 goes away. Click it, it comes back. This simply toggles the visibility. And did I put the hotspot? Oh, sorry, I was in the middle of a command. There we go. We toggle it, and we toggle it again. If you wonder what happened, you saw I didn't get a hotspot. I can explain easily what happens, because if you look at the command line, it lists the last command you use. And if I click anywhere, it repeats the last command, which was the toggle command. But it does not repeat the last command with all parameters, because that's not the idea of repeating a command. You often want to do something else. So what happens? I accidentally clicked and I was in the middle. You can see it asking for layer name now. So one thing you might want to do, let's go to view and show hyperlinks. Now I can use this command, edit, edit it, and you can add something at the bottom like the null command. The null command does absolutely nothing, but it also prevents the last command in a macro from being the active commands. Let's hide a hyperlink. Okay. And now I cannot accidentally click because each click just executes the null command again. There we go. And now we can do building 2 the same way. Tools, macros, make hotspots, and go there, and toggle, building 2, and I shouldn't have named those building. The reason for that is that the other sheets also called building, so I'm actually going to rename them before I continue. I'm not gonna bother renaming them actually, but it was a mistake of me because the next command I'm gonna hide and show all buildings, and that's gonna also affect other things with the same name. So let's go there, hide hyperlinks. Now we can hide that building. Of course, I don't have a floor plan, so it looks a bit silly, but I can hide it. I can show them individually. Works like a charm. So now, how to hide all buildings? Okay, tools, macros, make hotspot. Again, I do the same layer. The nice thing about the go layer command is also that if the sheet you specify do not exist, it creates it. No error message or anything, it just creates the sheet. Oh, sorry, the layer in this case. Because if you type something wrong, let's say I'm very bad at typing. I think I have demonstrated that as Sue just pointed out. It's actually missing a G. But let's just leave it like that. So let's see what happens if I misspell it. But now I can also use, I'll explain the toggle filter command. Toggle filter takes part of a layer name. Instead of an entire layer name, it takes the part of a layer name. So I just want to hide building 1 and 2. So I hide building. Oops. Caps lock, I think. And I'm going to show you one trick, which is kind of a bit annoying because you can see that I've done it. But you remember, my buildings are called building space 1, building space 2, and so on. So if I don't want to affect layers that are called buildings, I don't want to affect those. I can say toggle F building space. You see why this is a bit annoying? You cannot see that there is a space there now. It can actually cause problems in the future. So it's not the way I like to do things. I should really have renamed the layers instead. But then I had to go in and edit all the commands or layer names in my commands. So I don't want to do that. But now it toggles by filter, that's the F filter, everything that starts with building space. Okay. And remember after the null as well to hit enter to get a blank line. Okay. And do that again. Let's hide the hyperlink. You don't have to keep hiding the hyperlink, that's fine. But now if I click all buildings, it toggles both. And can you see that? It created a new layer for me with my spelling mistake, background instead of background. And having an extra layer with a spelling mistake is no big deal. Getting error messages because you spelled something wrong that's kind of a bigger deal. For example, if I try to hide a layer and I just type hide layer, you can see I get these error messages because I don't have this layer called silly layer. That's also why I often use the filter command, even with just a single layer, because the filter takes everything that matches the filter. That can be 0 or more, no error messages. So the filter command is actually nice. If I had misspelled when I tried the command for building 1 and 2, I would have gotten error messages. So the filter command is actually quite nice. But now I can hide them all. Of course, this is toggle. So if I've done like this, I have one on and one off. Now it keeps switching. If I really wanted to ensure that they were either on or off, I could make one all on and just shown everyone in the on command and hidden everyone in the off command. The toggle will do exactly what you ask it to do. Toggle, which again, toggling multiple things can get quite interesting in this way. So that's just one of the things, but I think that's the map for today. So, and that's the live stream. Any final questions for me before we end this stream? Just see if anything crops up. If not, I'm gonna just end it in a minute or two. So while I'm waiting for that, let's just do a small little decoration to let while you are asking questions. Because there is something missing with this building, isn't there? There is something vitally missing with this building, obviously. The symbols, user, so yeah. Because building does not have tentacles extending from the roof. Is it really a building? Of course it isn't. We need tentacles. We need tentacles. Sue made those tentacles to be used. I want tentacles from my buildings. From my burning buildings. This is going to really want the players to either run away or explore. We don't know what. Okay, but I see there wasn't any more questions, so thanks for watching, everyone, and I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to do a live stream next week. Ralph is still away. You just have to look for an announcement and see. If not, Ralph is back in 2 weeks anyway. So, thanks for watching. Be seeing you.